This segment sponsored by Foster Financial. Welcome to Women's Wealth Wednesday, where we provide you with holistic financial advice, but for women. And today, joining me is Vice President Caleb Doan of Foster Financial. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so we are continuing this really exciting conversation, diving into the Indiana retirement system. Now, we've talked the last couple of weeks. Kind of give us a refresher on what we've covered and what you will share with us today.
Yeah. So the Indiana public retirement system is pretty complex. There's a lot of things going on, and a lot of times this impacts teachers. And so there's a lot of teachers at home now for the summer. Maybe they're taking a look at what their financial plan looks like, and maybe they're thinking about retiring within the next couple of years. So we talked a little bit about the pension plan, how that works. A couple weeks ago, we talked about the health insurance side of things, what to do for health insurance when somebody retires, and a few of the investment accounts that go along with that. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the defined contribution plan, which is the 403B. It acts very similar to a 401k at kind of other employers, so people might really be familiar with those. But it's a lot different from the pension plan. So.
Well, I love it when you bring us some new acronyms and new terms to learn. Okay, so 403B, what exactly is that?
Yeah, so I guess it's kind of helpful to contrast it maybe with the pension plan. With a pension, it's what they consider kind of a defined benefit plan, where the employer lays out exactly what the benefit's going to be. They say, hey, we're going to take your average 5, highest years of salary, multiply that by the number of years that you work, divide that by a certain figure, and that's the monthly pension benefit that we're going to give to you when you retire. So the employer is kind of defining the benefit that you'll get. With a 403B, which with the Indiana Public Retirement System, the 403B is through Voya. So that might be kind of a term that rings a bell for some participants. With the 403B, it's a defined contribution plan. So the employer just defines how much they're going to contribute into the plan, but the employee has complete, sway over how it's invested. So the employer says, hey, you can contribute as much as you want to this plan, 10% of your paycheck, 15% of your paycheck, whatever it is, we'll match 3% or whatever they decide. And then the employee gets to decide how that's actually invested.
That's fascinating. So they kind of take a little bit more power over their financial future in that sense. But how would they know what to invest in? That sounds like the task may be a little cumbersome.
Yeah, that's the tough thing. So you're kind of defaulted into a certain fund, but a lot of times that fund doesn't match your specific goals. Of course, not everyone is the same, and not everyone needs to be invested in the same way. And so that's where a financial advisor kind of putting together a plan for somebody can pick and choose between the funds that are in that 403B plan and say, hey, you actually need to be 5% in this, 10% in this, 15% in this, and then we can reallocate that for the clients.
Okay, and so just going back though, the pension, those funds where it's invested in is decided by the employer?
Yeah, the employer has complete control over that. And it's their responsibility to kind of invest it in a certain way to be able to give the employee that income, that pension check every single month in retirement. The 403B is completely up to the employee. So they could leave it all in a money market kind of cash account. They could put it in a super aggressive growth fund. And typically we like to be somewhere in the middle there that's going towards the employee's goals. So
does it work in the same way as a 401k that you access these funds upon retirement or a pension upon retirement? Number one. Number two, is this something that you roll into an investment plan later or into distributions later?
Yeah, great question. So yes, you get to access it when you retire or when you leave the company. You can roll it. And you can certainly roll the funds when you retire. And there's even a provision that allows you to roll the funds while you're still working if you've hit the age 59 and a half. So let's say you're planning on working until you're 65, but you hit 59 and a half and you really want your financial advisor to be kind of actively managing those funds. You can say, hey, I've got 300 grand saved up. roll that to my outside IRA with my financial advisor, I'll keep contributing to the 401k, or 403b, which is now at a zero balance, and then my advisor can manage that 300 grand inside my IRA.
So you have your pension that's coming from your employer, and then you have your 403b that you're contributing, and they will match. So you're taking advantage of all of the possible contributions from your employer. Now, would someone have a third account, a 401k also?
Not typically within the Indiana Public Retirement System. The 403b kind of replaces the 401k. So that's typically how it works, because they're very similar accounts. A 403b is oftentimes like a public employee's 401k. So it just has slightly different kind of rules with it, but very, very similar.
Okay, so my last question for you is, because I'm thinking about if someone's watching and they're wondering like, well, I don't know what I set up when I started with the Fort Wayne Community Schools or whichever public service job that they have. And so what should they do to go about evaluating how are my plans set up, and can I still contribute and get the max of my contributions back?
I'd say, one of the best ways is to have a financial plan put together. So when somebody comes to us from Fort Wayne Community Schools, Southwest Allen County Schools, wherever it is, we're really familiar with the plans, and so we can kind of get our arms around everything and say, all right, let's call on the pension, let's call on the 403b, let's look at your investment options, let's look at how much income you need in retirement, how many years until you're going to retire, and we can put a plan, a custom plan that has all of those facets involved in it. So it's a lot of things to kind of consider, and when you turn on the pension versus when you retire, there's so many things that impact one another. So setting up a plan, identifying what your goals are, and then pursuing that plan is a really helpful thing.
So many variables that are moving that has to be set up properly. So each week I learn more and more why financial planning is so important. So thank you, Caleb.
Thank you.
And if you'd like more information about Foster Financial, you can contact them, give them a call for a complimentary consultation. We'll have their phone number listed below, and we'll be right back. This segment sponsored by Foster Financial.